You are at the Rand Wall, which is where for $5 I will rant about a topic of your choice. Click the link in the description if that's something you're interested in. This one comes from Epsilon Eagle, and he writes, when people say not a Souls-like, when it's clearly a Souls-like. So this is something you see these days, both from the player side as well as from certain developers, and it's been a recent topic of conversation. At least in my bubble, this went semi-viral. There was a moment in the IGN review for Black Myth Wukong where the reviewer said, "Hey, this is actually not a Souls-like. It's much closer to other traditional action games like Bayonetta or other stuff with Platinum." And from that point, I saw a couple other people sort of be confused. Okay, everybody else is saying this is a Souls-like, but then this reviewer is saying it's not a Souls-like. What's going on? The obvious point of confusion there is that everybody's throwing this word around without actually defining it. And in this specific instance, the reviewer was defining it very structurally. He was saying, okay, this game does not have a currency that you lose when you die. It doesn't have, it seems like it doesn't have the death run mechanic of the Souls games. It doesn't really have the same checkpoint system or anything like that. I don't know. I haven't looked into it that deep. The reason why a lot of people then still disagree, and like I can see why you consider those elements Souls-like elements. They do reappear in a lot of games. Um, the reason a lot of people still disagree with this is that it's not taking the actual core fundamental gameplay systems and controls into consideration. Where Wukong very much a game where I'm assuming you click R3 to lock on, and then that will engage a circle strafe mode where you strafe around the enemy. You have light and heavy attacks. You have a stamina meter that governs all your actions. Uh, you have a very powerful dodge roll. All that sort of stuff. I think we're at the point where those types of things, and especially this like lock on and camera style, are these super universally accepted and not questioned mechanics at all, to the point where people don't even realize how much that dictates the cadence and the rhythm of the combat system, how much that already makes it a Souls like, in my opinion at least. I even had an instance where a friend of mine, she's never really played any From Software games, and she's sort of put off by the kind of cultish nature around it and by the fan base around it. And just the fact that From have been historically against easy modes and stuff is like something that just puts her off, like, which, is fine. Um, but one game that she has played is Jedi Survivor, and she was sort of saying, yeah, that one's not a Souls like because I like it and I don't like Souls likes. Which, I mean, I don't know, dude. Um, so yeah, I think you know the the Demon Souls control scheme to me is something that when it came onto the scene, I thought was very novel and very clever. I liked the way it sort of represented your left hand and your right hand, and it is very naturally intuitive. And then you even saw, I would very much say that the new God of War games are not Souls likes, and yet they still. That's sort of the right way to do it. Actually, like I'm not a fan of those games at all, but at least they took small inspiration from Souls, where they said, "Ooh, it's actually if I put the attack buttons on the shoulder buttons, it lets me move the camera at the same time, right?" And then it led them to sort of explore this fluid interaction between melee and ranged attacks, which is kind of cool. That's a kind of a unique selling point of the God of War games. Like they took a thing that was clearly inspired by Souls in some way, and then took it into a different direction. Which I can even again, I don't really like the games, but like I can sort of respect it. Um, I guess the fact that these mechanics are so universally accepted and not really questions and taking as the default way to do action combat now is something that really bothers me. Stellar Blade was also really interesting, where um the the demo dropped and everybody was like shocked, like, wait a minute, why does this play like Souls? Like, why is this a game where you lock on a server cipher? Like, what the fuck is going on? Why does it feel so slow? um it just, the presentation that it sort of gave off did not match the actual feel of the game once you got your hands on it. It's not what people were, at least people in my bubble kind of expected. And that's the point where you realize, oh my god, this has become the default mechanic over time. This has become the default combat system, the default control style. And again, it's to the point where it's not even, it's become genre agnostic, you know? It's like it's not an element that screams to people as necessarily Souls like, when to me it kind of is. I think that's hard to deny. There was also Phantom Blade Zero. I don't know much about the game, but the developer said some like complete nonsense about, oh my god, this is 60% DMC and like 40%. What the fuck does that even mean, dude? What the fuck are you talking about? Um, do I have more on this topic? Yeah, maybe Sifu will save us, but then Sifu got compared to like Batman Arkham constantly, because like, oh, it's just Batman Arkham. Shut the fuck up. Okay, that's it. Bye.